you get recognized a lot on the streets as you have done so many work? Or?
In LA, I think, and you probably know this, Sophia, but in LA, people don't really give that much of a shit unless you're a big, huge movie star. And even then, there's so many people in the entertainment industry in Los Angeles that there's not necessarily a reverence, but okay, I know what you do. Don't worry, we're not going to talk about it. That doesn't happen. But like, for example, when I was in Hawaii doing Hawaii 5-0, it was happening nonstop because people there aren't used to it.
Yeah.
And so, like, I had a lady who came to pick me up, like an Uber, to take me, of course, to a golf course. And she's like, "Oh my God, it's you, it's Clavo. Can I take a picture?" I'm like, "Yeah, of course." And so we got out of the car, and she was so tiny. She was probably like 4'10". I had to like lean over her way down to take a picture with her. And then I went to the Dole Pineapple Factory over there, and the farm where they actually farm the Dole pineapples, and people were recognizing me left and right. And can you take a picture? And I mean, I'm sure you know more than I how this is, Sophia, but once you say yes to one person, then people start going, oh, and then it turns into a thing. But again, I don't care. I like people, so I'll sit there all day.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that is the role that you get recognized mostly for Clavo Cruz, or?
Clavo, for sure. Yeah, no, for sure. Because it was such a singular role, you know? And that one, I remember when I did that one, it was supposed to be a one-off. It was supposed to be like, it was just a one-episode guest star. Yeah. And then we shot that at, we didn't shoot it in Miami. We shot that episode in Miami, the first one. But then after that, they shot everything in Manhattan Beach.
Yeah.
But I remember they used to shoot a show called Boston Legal with William Shatner and James Spader in the same studio. And I remember going there to audition for Boston Legal, and Ann Donahue, who was the showrunner for CSI Miami, just happened to be out and about, and she saw me while I was on the lot, and she's like, "Can I ask you something, Gonzalo?" And she calls me Gonz because everybody calls me Gonz once they get to know me. And I was like, "Yeah, sure." And first of all, it's good to see you. Holy shit. Hi, how are you? It's not normal that you see the showrunner just walking around the lot. She's like, "Do you have fans everywhere in the United States and around the world?" I'm like, "I have no idea what you're talking about. What's the problem? Why?" She goes, "We're getting so much fan mail about Clavo Cruz." Like, well, cool. I mean, great. I mean, how do I monetize that? Because that means absolutely nothing to me. I'm a working stiff. I'm just going from audition to audition trying to get my next job. And then they wrote me another episode. Yeah. And I went, "Oh shit." And then they wrote in the other two. I was like, "Holy shit, this is unbelievable." So it was great, but you don't really find that sort of recognition from a guest star on a television show, like and particularly a show that was so big like CSI Miami. But I guess people just resonated with that. Something resonated with people about that character. And I don't know.
But the character and the combination, I think, with David.
Yeah,
I am a theater actor myself, and I really like when you have someone opposed of you that you can feed from, and get to feed each other. And that is one thing that I see with you and David. It's just
we
forward.
Loved each other. We loved it. We loved it because let me tell you something about David. If you come to play, David is your biggest fan. I mean, he's your biggest fan. But if you go there and you don't have any idea and you're like, "Well, I'm just really happy to be here, and oh my goodness, this is so great," and you will get eaten. You will get eaten, and
you have to be eager. You have to go for it, and
you have to be ready to roll. You know, and David is. I mean, I don't know if you do this, Sophia, but David is one of those guys where you'll have your pages for the day, and you'll be together in the makeup trailer. And David will be like, "Okay, so this line, no. So how about I say this, then you go right to here, then you go here, I go here, and that's it. We got the scene. We're ready to go." Because it gets the point across and we don't waste time. And again, you have to be ready to play when you go there. And if you are, that guy will show you nothing but the utmost respect.
Yeah.
He's a really, really good dude that way. So I like it. I enjoyed working with him.
But that's what you see also on screen between Horatio and Clavo. It's just fire. It's just go. It's.
Well,
I really love it. I just hated when Clavo got killed.
You know,
the scene was great. I mean, the whole setup was great, but I just like, no, not Clavo.
Thank you so much for saying that. There was a guy who was a staff writer on the show and then went on to be like a co-executive producer. His name was Barry something. And I worked with him on another show called Touch with Kiefer Sutherland later. And he told me at Video Village one day, he's like, you know, in the writer's room at CSI Miami, we always had this conversation when we came to the season finale. Why the fuck did we kill Clavo? And that was such
good
a
for
great
them.
compliment.
Yeah.
I was like, thank you so much, Barry. Again, my bank account is wondering the same thing. Why the fuck did you kill Clavo? But I mean, when we were doing the season premiere for season 2, which was like the introduction of Clavo, I mean, a lot of people don't know this, but it's not like I'm shy about saying it. I was working at the Gap at the time.
Really?
And I auditioned for CSI Miami on a lunch break from the Gap.
Wow.
And then I found out that I got the part and they flew me down to Miami. And I remember shooting a scene with David Caruso. And at the time, like, he had owned a store in Miami Beach, like a clothing store, some sort of a store, because he lived down there. And I was telling him, I was like, man, what sucks is that once we finish wrapping this show, I got to go right back to work at the Gap. And he's like, just wait. I went, what do you mean by that? He goes, not for long after this, pal. I went, holy shit, really? He goes, yeah, you're going to be fine. You think so? And he was right. I mean, he was right. So good for him, you know?
I bet the Gap was sad to see you go, though.
I was a damn good employee at the Gap. I mean, I was a really, really good employee. And they were like, can we, do you want to get into like management? Do you want to be like an assistant manager or store manager, something like that? And I was a lead cashier at the Gap at the Beverly Center. And at the time, the Beverly Center was a big deal. And the Gap was really, really big in the 90s. And that's when they had all of those cool commercials, the dancing commercials and shit like that. And I could never, ever, ever be in management because store managers had to stay in the store. You couldn't leave. And I had auditions. It's not like you could just up and leave if you had an audition, but I made it a point to be a really, really good cashier. I was a lead cashier so that if I ever had an audition, like I said, I auditioned for CSI Miami on a lunch break. I auditioned for 90210 on a lunch break. I had more auditions on lunch breaks, and I would leave, take extended lunch breaks, an hour and a half, 2 hours at a time, and then come back. And I would either I would come in early, or I would close. I would stay late. Whatever I had to do just to pursue what I moved out to Los Angeles to pursue. Because I didn't move to LA to be a fucking Gap manager, for Christ's sakes. Not that there's anything wrong with being a Gap manager.
But you want to act. You want to.
It's a great living.
Yeah.
If you love clothes and you love benefits and like, if you want a solid company to work for where you have a 401k and all of that stuff, if that's your thing, man, God bless you. Go work for the Gap. Gap Incorporated is wonderful. Gap, Banana Republic, Old Navy, you name it. They are good to their people. But that's not what I wanted to do. So, I mean, I had a good time. I met a lot of people. I met Barry Manilow at the Gap. I met Phil Collins at the Gap. I mean, I met a lot of people at the Gap at the Beverly Center. But it wasn't my future,
No.
Where did you move from where were you brought up, and then when did you move to LA?
Ironically enough, I was born in Miami. So, but I'm first generation American. My parents are Cuban. They came over in 1959, my father, 1960, 61, my mother, after the Castro Revolution. And so my parents weren't together in Cuba. They met each other in Miami. But I lived in Miami until I was 17. And then by that time I had fallen in love with movies, and I didn't really know that I wanted to be an actor. but I knew that I loved movies. And then, let's see, I guess I was in 11th grade. My mom was up my ass about taking her to see this movie. It's like, you have to, I'm hearing these amazing things about this movie called Cinema Paradiso. And I went, okay, I've never heard of it, but if you want me to take you, I'll take you. So I go on this date with my mom because obviously, you know, my father's already passed away at the time. And the movie starts and I see subtitles. I was like, really? You brought me to a movie where I got to read subtitles? This is, Mom, what are you thinking? But the subtitles are in Italian, and Italian is pretty close to Spanish. So I find myself that, oh my God, I can almost understand what they're saying. And if I have to reference the subtitles, and Cinema Paradiso, have you seen the film?
Yeah.
Oh my God, it's life-changing. Particularly it's a kid, you know, growing up and, you know, falling in love with the cinema and being the operator of the camera and the reel machine. And it was just beautiful. And I went, oh my God, I think this is what I want to do. I really think this is what I want to do. And my father at the time used to play softball with El Alcalde, which was the nickname for Andy Garcia's father, because Andy's from Miami.
Yeah.
And so I mean, I really, honestly, I didn't know who Andy was, but I remember my mom and my dad telling me, you know, El Alcalde's son is an actor and he's in Los Angeles. And then Andy started blowing up and I went, so this is actually like a real possibility? Wow, maybe I'll study this. And then I remembered that my parents had taken me to see a play, and there was a kid in the play. Now, I went to school with a kid named Danny Fusaro, who had an older brother. And when I saw the play, I was like, holy shit, that's Danny's older brother. I didn't know that like a normal person could actually be in theater. I thought that it was something for somebody else in my naivete or whatever, you know, but like, these are just normal people. And so I started putting all of the pieces together, and I decided, you know, fuck it, I want to study this. I really want to study this. And so I went to Florida State in Tallahassee, Florida, and I took an introduction to theater class, which was, it was an easy A. All of the athletes took it. I found myself in the theater with a bunch of like future professional athletes. And one of the requirements was to see the school productions. And the first one was On the Town, which was not for me. I realized I'm not a song and dance man. Just the idea of we're in the middle of this really emotional and intense scene, and then all of a sudden we break into a song. I'm like, I can't. It's not for me. Sorry. But the second one was Arthur Miller's All My Sons. And it's an amazing play that deals with, you know, airplanes and factories that build the airplanes for World War II. And there was a guy that I knew, his name was Glenn Swan, and he was in the play, and I saw him and I was like, holy shit. Not only do I think that I can do this, I think I might actually be able to do this well.
Yay.
And the guy who taught the class, his name was Joe Carrioff, and he played the father in All My Sons, and with that brilliant line, they were all my sons, you know, because, and I remember walking up to Joe Carrioff after class one day, and I said, Dr. Joe, I think I want to be an actor. He's like, okay, great. And so how do I do that? I was, well, first you have to audition for an acting class. I knew nothing. And I mean, when I say zero, I mean, I knew less than zero. I asked, like, okay, great. What is that? It's like, what's what? What is an audition? I mean, I kind of know what that, but I don't really know. How do you audition? Because, well, acting one class is the first class at Florida State Universities that's for studying acting. And you have to go and you have to do a monologue for them, a 2-minute monologue. And perfect. I'm totally down to do that. What's a monologue? Because it's a speech in a play. Okay. How do I find that? Like, you go to the library, you find a play, you find a speech, and then you do it. okay, this is, I mean, I'm not the best as far as computers are concerned. And so to go and look for plays on a computer was unheard of. So I walked my ass on over to the library. I asked where the section where the plays was. I started looking through all of it, and I knew nothing. I mean, I knew nothing about these plays. And I found a little play called The Basic Training of Pablo Hummel. And I figured this might be something. I was 18 years old at the time, and these are all young soldiers. And so I find this speech where the guy is like talking to his brother, but I don't need you anymore. I got real brothers now, because he's talking about how the guys in his platoon had beat him up and beat him up and beat him up. And then finally one guy just reaches down, pulls him up, and he hugs him. And he hugs, and that was my monologue. And so I checked out a little rehearsal room in the annex at Florida State University, and I'm working on it and working on it. This is a long, I'll try and condense the story, but again, every time that I tell it, I get emotional about it because I had no idea what I was doing. And I'm in this little rehearsal room, and I'm just going over the words, trying to memorize them. And this woman walks in, and I kind of knew her because I had seen her in the theater building, but I wasn't really in the theater program. And she's like, "What are you doing?" I have an audition for acting one, and I have no idea what I'm doing, so I'm just trying to memorize the words. Her name was Patrice Bailey, fucking sweetheart. And she's like, "Well, you know, I'm an MFA directing candidate, so if you need some help, maybe I can help you with your monologue." I said, "I'll take any help you have to offer. God, I would love that." She goes, "Okay, so do it." So I did it, and she's like, "Okay, not bad." And she gave me a couple of little tweaks in terms of like, what's your intention, stuff like that. And I made it work to a certain degree. And then I have to go and audition. And I'm thinking that I'm just going to go into this room and do my monologue. But God, was I wrong? Holy shit. I get down to the place where the auditions are, and there's a fucking line down the block.
Oh.
And I'm like, oh shit. What did I just walk into? And of course, like, there's so much look at me, even with actors in college, and everyone's talking about when I did this play, Shakespeare, and blah, blah. And I'm doing nothing but getting less and less and less enthusiastic. I'm so intimidated. I'm scared shitless because I've never done this before. Like, I grew up shooting guns. I grew up playing football on the block with my buddies. I grew up throwing baseballs and shooting hoop. So I'm in a completely different world. So out of my element, so out of place, and I'm scared shitless. And then I go into the room. Finally, it's my turn. I go into the room and walk in, and there's two gentlemen, George Judy and Michael Ritchie, and they're theater professors, they're acting teachers, and they're sitting behind a desk. The door closes behind me, and I just start in on my monologue. And George Judy, with this big, big bellowing voice, was like, "Stop!" Like, bro, I'm already shitting bricks. I don't need that. It's like, "That is not how you do this." Like, I don't know how you do this. How do you do this? It's like, you say your name, you say the character's name, and the play that the character. So, okay, my name is Gonzalo Menendez, and I'll be doing Pablo from The Basic Training of Pablo Hummel. And then I start my monologue. And like 3 or 4 sentences in, I go up, which I don't know if you know what that means, Wanda, but you forget your line. Yeah. And I was so nervous. I mean, I was so scared. And I froze. And I told him, I'm playing this scene in my head. I told him, "I'm so sorry to have wasted your time. Clearly, I was right when I was waiting in that line. I don't belong here. Thank you." And I walked out. And I walked my ass all the way back to my dorm across campus. I was so pissed at myself because I'd worked really fucking hard and I wanted this. And then it dawned on me when I got to my dorm, I forgot my backpack. I left it in the goddamn room. So now I have to shamefully walk all the way fucking back and ask them. So I walk all the way through the line, and I'm telling everybody else that's waiting to audition, I'm really not trying to cut in front of you. I fucked up. Trust me when I tell you, you have nothing to fear from me as far as this shit goes, because I am not getting in this class. You're good. I just need to get my backpack. And I wait for somebody to come out. I walk into the room, and I was like, guys, I left my backpack. And they're like, yeah, we know. I grab my backpack, and I'm starting to walk out of the room. And again, George Judy with that voice, stop. Like, fuck you, man. You want to add insult to injury? I know I fucked up.
Yeah.
It's like, you were doing fine. Calm yourself down. Start again. Okay. My name is Gonzalo Menendez. And I will stop. We heard that. Do the monologue. I was like, you guys are fucking dicks, man. What are you doing to me? But at that point, I was like, I got nothing to lose. You know, I have nothing to lose. What are you going to tell me? No? I already know it's no. So cool. And I just fucking ripped right through it. Bam. Knocked it the fuck out, grabbed my backpack, and walked the hell out of that room. Like I own that bitch. And the next day, they were putting the lists up, and I had to go to that class anyway, that introduction to theater class, which at that point, fuck, what am I doing here? But let me check the lists anyway. And sure as shit, man, I checked the list, and my name was the third one on the list. I was like, fuck, they picked me. Not only did they pick me, but they picked me third. Oh my God. And that was it. From that moment on, I remember going to that acting class, and it was that moment of finding that other actor and really like getting into that give and take and that living. And I'm really not big on methodology. There's certain things that you have to do in our profession. You have to be able to hit your mark and, you know, stay within the focus of the camera. And I understand all of that, but I learned Meisner, I learned Strasberg, I learned Stanislavski, I all of that, and then I just threw it all away. And I just be in the moment. Just be in the moment, let it rip. And anyway, yeah, that's my story. And it's my favorite one. That's my favorite one. Well, it enables me to relive shit that really meant something to me. And I told you, that's honestly, that's who I am. Yeah. I love moments. I love real moments in life. And that's what I try and find with scripts and when we're on set. That's exactly what I try to find. Yeah. Because I hope that somebody can see that and experience that.